What does this one look like? Kind of like a fish. That's a really great identifying characteristic, right? If you remember that it looks like a fish, you remember something for life. Sheep sorrel tastes really sour, and it's really, really delicious. When you put it in your mouth, you're like, ooh, I want more. Sometimes I like to, feed people a lot of different edibles that don't taste very good, and then give them sorrel just to see their reaction, because they're like, okay, ooh, give me another one. I like to crush it up in water, add a little bit of honey, and make trailside lemonade when I'm hiking, because it has a very lemony taste. Sheep sorrel is really good for skin disorders, for infections, for taking out heavy metals from your system. Right? Really rich in vitamin C and in iron. It likes to grow in the sun, right? In places where it's dry usually. So in nature, that usually means on top of a hill or on a hillside. In the city, I'd look for it in like vacant lots or just parts that have a lot of sun exposure. If you have a really sunny backyard, I'm guessing that you could probably grow sorrel there. Wait, growing wild edibles? Yeah, we'll get there. Actually, let's just say one more thing. So if you're hiking through and you see something that's growing close to the ground and you pick it because it looks kind of like a fish and you're not sure because you've never eaten sheep sorrel before, if you take a tiny little taste and it's sour, guaranteed it's sheep sorrel. What if it's not sour and you just tasted something that looks like a fish? Are you going to die? No, if you just take a tiny little piece, if it's not sour, it's not sour. You put it away and keep hiking. There's actually a way to find out whether something is edible or not naturally without books. But you have to, it's a very gradual process. You don't just go in the forest and, eat a bunch of plant and then cross your fingers. It's a very slow process and you utilize all of your senses. Those senses are oddly enough what we, the pattern that we generally go through when we're kids, right? Because the first thing we do as kids, we look at something. What does it look like? Is it friendly? Then if it appears to be friendly, we walk closer and we touch it, because that's the next thing that extends from our bodies. What does it feel like? If it's friendly there too, we smell it. What does it smell like? A lot of poisonous plants, they don't smell very good. So when I hear people eating hemlock and dying, I'm like, how could they do that? Because hemlock smells terrible. When I smell hemlock, I throw it away and I want to keep going. Well, to put it this way, some authors say that wild hemlock or poison hemlock smells just like rotting flesh. So I don't enjoy eating that. If it smells good, that's another sign that maybe I should continue. Next one is hearing. You can listen to a plant. Might not tell you very much. So I sort of interpret this to mean listen to your intuition, or maybe go over the first 3 steps again. Remember my story about the kid who was wanting to put a little plant in their mouth? Just as a way of exploring this life? The last step is you just taste a tiny little piece. And if you get any kind of burning or discomfort in your mouth, that's a pretty good sign that you shouldn't eat it. But if you don't, then that's your indication that you can eat a little bit more. And after you've done this, you can eat a little bit more each time and more each time. You can pretty much figure out whether something is poisonous or edible. What's this?
Red clover.
Yeah, very good. Who wants to read what clover is good for?
Blood purifier, cancer growths, and intestinal infections.
So clover is amazing for blood purification, and it's also incredible for cancer growths. Any kind of tumors, cysts, any kind of lumps, particularly in your lymph system. It just clear those right up. All parts of the clover are edible. The leaves, the flower, the stem. Let's find out how much you guys know about clover. So typically a clover plant has how many leaves?
3.
3. And what shape are the leaves?
Circular, oval.
Circle. Think oval. Good. So 3 oval leaves, typical clover plant. But sometimes if we're lucky, we find one that has 4 leaves. Did you know that those clover plants are actually more nutritious than these ones?
Just by the seed.
Yeah, because they have 1 extra leaf, right? Here's some homework. One identifying characteristic of a clover is that the edges are very tiny little spikes. Right? So pick a clover leaf, hold it up to the sunlight, and pay attention to the edge of the leaf, and you'll notice that it's serrated and there's tiny little spikes on it. That's very unique to the clover family. And the flowers, again, are edible and very delicious and beautiful looking on pies and cakes.
How do you get the bugs out of them, or do you not worry about that? Because they have no
Well,
so many bugs.
The question is, how do you get the bugs out of them? I could tell you the answer that you want to hear, but I could also tell you the true answer that I've been researching, which is that bugs are actually really healthy and nutritious to eat. That they're a complete protein. They're a renewable protein that, you know, it's like unlike killing a cow, you can just grow bugs by the millions and eat them. So, in the near future, I'm actually going to experiment with eating bugs, apart from accidentally eating a bug here and there on lettuce. I'm not totally open to the idea yet. That's why I'm kind of preparing myself and doing more research on the concept. But the rest of the world does it. And here in America, we're, you know, kind of pushing that away, saying that it's not modern and it's not good, but it's healthy. I think that if there's a lot of bugs on it, just shake the plant, wash it off. But sometimes if there's 1 or 2 bugs on it, I just pretend like they're not there.
Would you also say that that's another clue that it's an edible plant if bugs are eating it?
I've heard that in the past. I don't personally believe that to be fully true, because I've, you know, like they say that with mushrooms, that there's bugs. If there are bug marks on the mushroom, don't eat. Then it's okay to eat. I don't really. I've read things that make me think that you can't just follow that. Yeah. But it is, you know, if a bug's eating it, that could be like a secondary or third thing to be like, oh, that's, you know, that's a good sign too. How many gardeners here? Any? 3.